Hello everybody, it's Brandy here from the Prima Marketing Design Team, and we are still going with the March Color Madness, and we will be focusing on the Color Bloom 2 sprays. Again, I have 2 videos because once I got started I just couldn't stop, and I needed some little gift tags that I'm sending out in some packages soon, so I figured what better time, okay? So I'm going to be doing 4 tags, and I'm using leftover packaging, some of the resist tags, some of the paintables, just different elements. Okay, so we're going to hop right in here. And this is a tag that's just left over from the clock alterable from Finnabair and Prima. And I just save every tag. I save everything. So I'm just adding a very liberal layer of the heavy gesso to cover it up, okay, and then I'm just going to let that dry. I'll do a lot of heat setting with my heat tool you'll see in this video too, because these are really quick and really easy to do. It's just, you'll see how quick and easily they come together. So right now in this bowl, I am mixing heavy gesso, and I zoomed out there for you so you could see a little better. And I'm mixing some mica flakes. I chose to go with these like granite ones, but really you could go with any color you want to stick with a color theme. I figured they would mainly be covered with the gesso, so it didn't really matter. But you could, you know, go with a color theme that you have in mind, and it would work just as well. So I'm using the end of my Finnabair brush, the dual-ended brush there, and I'm using that to mix it and spread it and create some extra texture. And I'm just going to spread it all the way down the tag, and I just love this effect. I love the texture it immediately gives. It's just super grungy, super pretty, super cool. Okay, and you could leave it all white, but once you hit it with those color blooms, it really looks phenomenal. So I am just adding it there. You can see me kind of playing with the ends of the brush and the texture and just having fun with it. Okay, and it did take a little while to dry. I didn't want to heat set it. So now we're going with another leftover. You can see this is a packaging tag here. I do not waste anything. Again, I'll say that again. So this is from the resist tags, and I used the last one on this one too. It's the small one you'll see me do. So I'm just giving that a coat of gesso as well. And it was really dark up top, so I had to go in with a pretty thick layer. So I got out my Finnabair and Prima, the silicone brush, and I'm putting a pretty heavy layer there. And it's also going to help me to get, I have like some leftover foil sheets, and I wanted to do some foiling in the background, just very subtle to add to it, so it was perfect for that. So you will see me heat setting it here because it's part of the technique. I'm drying it until it's almost dry, but not quite. So where it's bubbling up, the foil will stick to it. I'm using the planner glue pen. Again, I love this thing. It's one of my favorites. And I'm just randomly kind of dragging it around. And I'm going to use that to help my adhesive stick down too. So just going all over randomly. I did give it a quick heat set because it's very sticky if you don't. And I'm using a leftover piece of the rose gold from the intergalactic foil pack, and it's my favorite one by far. And you can see this piece has been well loved, but it's perfect for techniques like this. Like, don't throw it away. Unless that thing is completely clear, I keep every tidbit of this foil because it's great for doing mixed media techniques like this. It's missing in some areas, which is what you want. So it's perfect that the foil has already been used. It kind of helps to go in with that. So I wanted a little bit more than what I was getting, and I kind of push those bubbles out already. So I'm adding a little bit more glue and just going over it with my hands. You can see here it's very quick, very easy. This foil is really fun to work with. And once I was happy with how it looked, I was ready to move on. I did skip around a bit here, y'all, because I was letting things dry in between. So I'm going in with Golden Walnut. This is one of my favorite inks. It looks almost greenish here, but it's a very pretty color. I love it. So I went in with there, added water, and let that one dry. And I skipped around a bit because I didn't want this video to be too long, y'all. So I tried to condense it down into less than 15 minutes. So here on this one, I'm literally, with these color blooms, you can get this effect if you just barely squeeze. You get these drops, these really artsy splatters, and that's what I was going for on this one. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm wanting those little drips and splatters. So I'm kind of keeping up high, and I am splattering all over it in 3 different colors. I've got my resist tag now, and I am just adding it on there and rubbing it with my finger in 2 different colors just to get it, you know, completely covered. And then I did 1 spritz with the black tulip spray just to add some contrast. Now I'm using the Frost Color Bloom spray, and this was the end of the bottle, so you'll be like, whoa, she just used it a lot. I did, but it was pretty much the end of the bottle, and I had watered it down a couple of times. You can reuse these, I'd say up to 3 times, so I just went ahead and poured it. And this is them when they are dried. So on top of this golden walnut, I'm going to add a little bit of that pink crocus just to add, it's more of a purple tone, I guess I should say, just to add some more color and make it blend in with all the other tags, because the brown was just kind of too stark compared to all the pinks and purple tones that I had on the other tags. So just making it blend a little bit. So I'm showing you all of these dry now. I do hold it up to the camera a lot. So instead of using a chalk edger or a ink in order to go around the edges of this and make it stand out, I decided to use the Color Bloom spray again. Why not? It's all out here. So I sprayed some on the table, and I'm using my finger to go all the way around. And this will act as a distress ink or a chalk edger. It will just give you a defined edge on all of that. So I'm using some different elements. I'm keeping these very simple. These are going to go on some gifts I'm sending out very soon to a few ladies. So I just needed some thank you tags. So I'm using heavy body gel to adhere everything down. This is one of those IOD metals for wood plaques, which I love. This is like a keyhole here, and it's just so pretty. And then I make a ton of molds all at one time. You'll see that keyhole over there to the right. I had sprayed it with the sugar plum, but it just wasn't dark enough. So now I'm going to go in with that black tulip and give it a really dark coat there. Okay, and I did overspray, you can see, but I used it on something else too, so that way none was wasted. And then I'm going to glue it right on top of the other keyhole, making sure that my openings are lined up perfectly. And again, I am using the heavy body gel. I used to use the 3D gloss gel, but when I was in Phoenix at Art Venture, Finnabair recommended using heavy body gel, and she was so right. It's very strong. So I have another one of the paintable tags, and I'm using, this is a very popular technique. You just use a piece of acetate or packaging, and you spray on something, and you dip the acetate or packaging in this case in it, and it gives you those artsy like splatters and stuff without having to be too fussy with this. It's very quick and very easy to do. So that's the effect you get. It's very, you know, you can control it a bit more. You can control where it goes. You can add water, or you can do whatever. So this is a much darker one. This one's called Sugar Plum, so it's much darker than that pink crocus one. So I should have added a little bit of water to it, but, you know, no big deal. And I do have some of the Christine Adolph resist pen on some certain areas of there, and I did plan on removing them, but I'll go in and just use foil in a minute, you'll see. So now I'm using the wild raspberry, and I am just going all the way around my tag using the packaging technique, which is very popular. This is nothing new, but it does give you really artsy, pretty effects. So now I'm using some silver foiling, and I'm going over those Christine Adolph resist pen areas with that foil, and it does stick to it. Now this had been on there for quite some time. I did a batch of these all at once when I got the resist pen, so it's not sticking as good as it would if you freshly put the pen on there, but it's still sticking. Now this tag, I do a few things to these tags off camera after it was all said and done and the video recording was over. I just felt like some of them needed some more things. So in the pictures, you'll see a few discrepancies, but I'm showing you mainly the techniques here. Definitely how to get the backgrounds. All that I did pretty much was add some white, a new bottle of white color bloom spray on top of this one, and I just splattered it, and it ended up giving me this really cool galaxy look, which you'll see in the pictures. So I'm going around it now with the black enamel dots. I really love these. They're very cool to use, and I'm going to line the entire thing with those black enamel dots. And that is what you're left with after it's done. And I've got those two ready. I did add some to the keyhole there. I just felt like there was some areas that it could use a little extra detail. So I'm just going in with that black enamel dot and I'm adding a few details on the keyhole. And I love the resist pattern on that one. So that, you can see I went in with the color bloom and just splattered it. So that's the one thing I did off camera, and I apologize, but sometimes when you get in the zone, y'all, you know what I mean. It's just hard to catch everything on camera because you just get to creating and you kind of forget. Okay, so now I'm going to start gluing some things to the first tag there. And I put a jump ring almost as like a reinforcer, but it just fit perfectly around the hole. And I'm going to add a few junkyard findings. These are old and a much older line. I mean, oh goodness, I can't tell you how old. These are probably like 6 years old, 5 years old. These are a much older line. These are England Bohm junkyard findings. I'm going to use quite a few of those. An oldie but a goodie. This is from Prima Lyric. It's one of the wooden buttons. That's how old that is. Like, I have tons of older items in my stash, and I love to use them. They are still as beautiful as they were when they were released, and they're timeless. So I'm using that paintbrush there in case any of the heavy body gel seeped out. I wanted to go ahead and grab it with a paintbrush so I didn't have any gunked up areas after it was dry. It dries clear, but you know, it will have some dimension to it. So I wanted to go ahead and get it with my paintbrush. So you'll see me do that a lot. So I have some backing on that little key, on the area up there where the hole is in the tag. I did back it with some paper. Now I'm going to start decorating my favorite tag, is what it turns out to be. And it's just a simple packaging tag, but I'm using one of these older tassels, again from England Bohm, and I'm pushing it through onto my flower bundle here. And now I tend to always cut the middle out there, the extra little part there on that flower in the center part, and then I just fluff it, and I kind of don't make it go all the way around. I tend to leave like one area open. You'll understand what I'm saying. So I did a little bit of the golden walnut in the center there just to kind of, I don't know, I liked the way it looked better, darker. So I'm just fluffing my flowers up, and I'm going to use a paintbrush to curl the edges of my flower on the end, just to give it some more character and make it look really pretty. And just kind of spread it out. You can curve it. It's all wired, so you can kind of play around with it. So I have another flower here. This one's from, it'll be in the supply list. I don't know if it's Tales of You and Me or Salvage District, but I'm using that one. And I'm using a pretty liberal amount of the heavy body gel. I don't want these to move. These are going on gifts, and when I'm sending things out to people, I'm pretty careful with how, you know, I want to make sure everything's staying in place. Okay, so this is going to pretty much sum it up. I add that flower, and off camera I did add one more of the flower bundle flowers, and that was all I did to this tag. That was extra. And then on the middle tag there that you see, the one to the right of that one, I do add some chain with some jump rings and a flower. So there was a few other things I did that I did off camera, but I showed you the entire background. I hope you guys are inspired to break out your color bloom sprays again. I feel like it's kind of a forgotten item with all the new mediums. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you join along with Prima this month and are following the blog. And I hope you like my tags and are inspired to create some of your own. So thank you for watching and have a beautiful day. Bye, y'all.